How's it going, folks? Jack here with another video. I am currently in the process of moving, which is why I think that a lot of echo can be heard right now. This means that unfortunately content might be a little bit scarce in the upcoming week and or weeks, but I'm going to try to do my best to stay a bit more consistent. But before actually disappearing for a little bit, I want to share my 2 cents about certain things that I think are kind of important to talk about. First and foremost is of course the subject of today's video, which is regarding Baldur's Gate 3. Now, Baldur's Gate 3 is a game that for people such as myself who have not stayed in congruence with the development of the game, something that has received a resurgence in relevancy. This was of course released in early access all the way back in October 2020, and gamers just generally have been enjoying the constantly updated playtest that they've been receiving. And the latest update that went live with a beta test during one of the live streams of all times has seen the studio, Larian, getting a lot of positivity coming their way, being praised by gamers by putting a lot of love and care and time into the stuff that they are making, and also having been said now to have set a new standard for RPGs. Now, from my point of view, this is simply Larian being consistent and of course innovating still, but I mean, from what I've played in Divinity 1 and Original Sin 2, I can only say good things about them. But as it is within the climate of the internet, every single time that somebody gets appraisals, there are naysayers out there. But this whole shtick about how Larian and or Baldur's Gate 3 should be seen as being a new standard for RPG or just an anomaly was sparked mainly from a debate on Twitter. Of course. Now, I was made aware of this from an article that popped on my feed from Game World Observer, one titled, "Why Dev Consider Baldur's Gate 3 Anomaly Not New Standard for RPG Genre? It's rockstar level nonsense for scope." Well, this is always painting good. Now, the individual to spark the debate was a Xavier Nelson Jr., who is the head developer for some games that I guess are approved by the Merchant Guild. At least we did feature a video from Seth here on the channel from the Space Organ Trading Simulator, and of course they have this glorious masterpiece that is an airport for alien currently run by dogs. Trust me, it is a digital masterpiece. But Nelson cited things that separate Baldur's Gate 3 from most RPGs in the market, such things as long development cycles started back in 2017, 2 previous games, Divinity, Original Sins and Original Sins 2, which are worth of tech and institutional knowledge to draw from. He continues with successful early access period lasting 3 years that provided Larian with community feedback, bug hunting and cash flow, and with a huge team of over 400 developers across 7 offices. Now, I generally always agree that it is of course normal that people are going to be voicing their concern and or disagreement with certain things, and coming especially from small indie studios, I do not expect them to uphold the standards that are set by a AAA, nor anything the size of Larian, as he pointed out here. Matter of fact, it is quite the opposite. We usually just expect them to create something that is quite niche, something that will just spark that jolt of, I don't know, electricity in your brain that just keeps you going on a game loop to keep you addicted and hooked to whatever repetitive cycles that they have. But having said that though, as I and many of you out there have observed the current climate of gaming, time and time over again, while some are saying that gaming is dead, we keep on seeing how indie studios keep on putting out quality content out there, and some that more than rival the works of AAA studios. But I do fully understand when Xavier in his tweet here says, "Like a lot of people, I'm definitely excited about what the lovely folks at Larian accomplished with Baldur's Gate 3, but I want to gently, preemptively push back against players taking that excitement and using it to apply criticism or raise standard to RPGs going forward 1/10. And this is a sentiment that was echoed by Rebecca Harkwich, saying, "This whole thread, you can't be appalled about how much big games cost to make and make those lavish production the standards by which all games are judged. I hope that Baldur's Gate 3 is a generous once-in-a-lifetime RPG. I hope no one expects a 10 to 20 or 40 person team to make one." And to this point, I just simply want to say that you don't need to worry about that. I don't know anybody who is going to be possibly asking for something of such scale from a small studio. But that is the effective descriptive word here, small. Because once we're talking about bigger studios, we are entirely shifting the goalposts here. With, for example, how Insomniac game design manager Ryan McCabe urged others not to use a singular game to set expectation for everyone developing RPGs because it isn't useful and instead foolhardy. Obsidian Entertainment design director Josh Sawyer called the condition under which Baldur's Gate 3 was made as atypical, saying it not as a slight to the people working on it as they are clearly passionate and talented, but simply pointing out the invaluable terms of a solid foundation upon which you build your game. Which I guess I agree with in a certain degree, because it is, well, more or less what some of the studios would have experienced in the likes of, for example, Obsidian, right? They have always played the role of subsidiary in a similar light to what's the recent flop that we've experienced? Redfall from Arcane Studios, which of course the report came out showing what the studio actually felt about that game, but the type that is constantly pushed to work on other things, to support other projects, and to actually pour the love and the finances into the project that they actually have in mind, but then rather being forced to work on other things. Arcane has softened from that, Obsidian have done the same. For those of you who remember how Fallout New Vegas, for example, actually suffered from bad sales, which caused them not to have a lot of good earnings. It's effectively making them want to leave, as they were acquired later on in 2018 by Microsoft. So I guess that we're talking about a question of autonomy here. What can they actually do? How much of a stranglehold can a parent company or a publisher have on their work? Sure, Baldur's Gate 3 had been worked on for years with a massive team and a lot of feedback from the fans, and of course a lot of creative freedom. And perhaps these other studios can't do the same, but things escalate quite a bit when this dude joins the chat. And by this dude, I'm talking about Diablo 4 senior designer Chris Baldur, who said this: even if you took one of the wicked touchstones, Ultima 7, that's a game that had 12 years of prior games fitting into it. If we were to look at this as a new benchmark, we will then need to focus on creating conditions just like Tears of the Kingdom. But people too often only look at the fruits of the labor and not the labor itself. Same as it ever was, I guess. Same deal with people wondering why there are so few artists painting like the Renaissance masters.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Now, this is absolutely ridiculous. We are talking about companies. Oh my god, I want to use the Ubisoft analogies again. I know I've done that a lot in videos, but of course, Blizzard Entertainment, Activision Blizzard, whichever you want to use here, who have had the opportunity of iterating on so many games, so many franchises, from Warcraft to Starcraft to Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, and previous entries in Diablo. What have they done? What generally happens is that despite all of this funding, despite all of this experience of 20, 30 plus years that they can feed into, they tend to just release things that are subpar to even previous entries in a game series. It is ridiculous to make that a comparison to something that is an actual labor of love. And much like how previous entries just like his were talking about the working conditions that are required to put out a piece of game like this, it's important to point out that having a successful early access period that generates a cash flow, for example, is not an anomaly. What truly made it successful and what truly mattered was how they continuously updated and gave feedback to the players. Some developers like, let's say, Tango Games Work, who did Evil Within and also Hi-Fi Rush, especially this year, can just drop a game without announcing it at all and having it be successful because they've optimized everything. They looked it back and forth and they know that what we're putting out there is something that we truly believe in. On the flip side to that, you have people building up hype for years upon years and not even getting feedback from the fans who are expecting something out of this, and once the game drops and is actually broken, what else do they expect? You have in contrast to that a studio that has for 3 years showcased the test, the early access to players and kept on updating on it again and again. This is why I pointed out in a previous video just how excited the people who were there, I'm sorry, we are packing some stuff in the background right now. Can I record, please? This is why I pointed out in the previous video just how excited the people who were at the live streaming, the live showcase of Baldur's Gate 3 were, because they knew what they were in for. Larian openly admitted that they wanted to make the best product that they could, asked the community's help to make this happen. Admittedly, of course, they already had the goodwill of the fan base because of good product that they already have put out, sure, and some already have had that. Redfall, I pointed out before, Arcane has a good reputation despite the fact that the studio isn't earning much because of just how intensive working on immersive sim can be and never really make the earnings back. But if only these AAA studios could realize to themselves that either reduce the price to the things that you are putting out, not to be a freaking $70 for a broken game, nor put the same commitment and Larian to making the best game possible and keep it updated to your fans. They are the ones to whom you want to sell a product. They are going to judge whether or not something is good. And of course, you can put out whatever it is that you want, but stop trying to complain that people are going to want this to be the standard, because it is a good thing. It's a standard that you now have to live up to. Because I'm frankly just tired to see so many games that have dedicated workers there. Great artistic department, actually great coders, developers and whatnot, but are unable to make a product that is coherent. It is baffling to me that it keeps continuing to happen like that. But this was my 2 cents on how it is the debate now concerning Baldur's Gate, and how I definitely think that it should be a standard that some of these AAA studios especially are to live up to. But that's just my thought. Let me know yours in the comment section below. Hopefully I'll put out more content in the coming days, but nevertheless, have a goddamn good day, stay chill, and see you guys in the next one. Bye.